Good evening, everybody. Brothers, thank you and excited to be here tonight with you for our Win with Black Men call. Tonight is a special night. We have young brothers between the ages of 17 and 30 who are going to lead this call. At the end of this call, we're going to get an update from some of the Battleground states to hear what's going on and more ways you can plug in. And in the final end, we're going to tell you more ways Win with Black Men is either coming to your neighborhood or ways you can plug into our program. We're really excited for you all to be here tonight. We're going to hear from a dynamic panel of speakers, young Black men who are leading in their communities and coming on to be panelists for us tonight. I want to thank my entire Win with the entire, not mine, the entire Win with Black Men team for getting this call off the ground. I know Roland Martin, our co-host, and being streamed on the Black Star Network, as well as our other co-host for the Kairos Democracy Project, Collective Pact, and his personal capacity, Bakari Sellers, all join us tonight. We're all hopping around the country. Jaquan, I am going to hand it over to you as you and Jordan start the conversation on engaging young voters in community around advocacy. Really quick, what are young Black men saying on the front lines right now? What can we hear from you? I want to bring up Jordan Jefferson and Jaquan Powell, who are going to lead this conversation right now. Jaquan, I turn it over to you for you and Jordan to take it from here.
What's going on? Thank you, Khalil. I just want to say it's a really great opportunity to be speaking with all of you right now. I want to say I've been working super close with Khalil and the Win with Black Men team on getting this up and running. Me personally, I've been working super close with Win with Black Men. I'm one of the main program coordinators who help with the Barbershop Talk tour that we do across the country. We created waves in cities like Detroit, Philly, New Orleans, Atlanta, Hampton. We just left Greensboro yesterday, and it's been a super awesome way. Having this time and opportunity to talk to many different young folks around the country has been super heartwarming. Hearing from them directly from the source and what the conversation is like when you hear from them as an individual. And I can say these voices need to be amplified and we need to be mobilized. Facts are the matter of when we have the opportunity to amplify voices and mobilize the community as a whole, different conversations come about. And with these conversations, we can actually all mobilize. And I feel like we can actually execute and put these plans into action. I have the opportunity to work super close with Jordan as well. We both are proud graduates of D. I Love Jackson State University. And I'm going to allow him to get an opportunity to introduce himself as well.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jordan Jefferson. Like Jaquan said, we both attended Jackson State University. I'm a member of Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and thank you, Win with Black Men, for giving us the voice to transpire what the issues are going on in the community and giving us a platform. I've been on the campaign for the last few months now. I got the opportunity to work for Chairman Harrison on the convention team, and then transition to the campaign as an advanced associate. So really with that is dealing with all walks of life of what the Democratic Party stands for, and being on the road with that. I would say a big issue what's been going on is honestly not having the opportunity to speak and the outreach throughout the community across the country. A lot of people just want to be heard through the community, and they feel like they haven't had the platform through that. And I really kind of worked to say, hey, this is what's going on the floor, and kind of get rid of the misinformation, disinformation that's been transpired of Black men are trending towards Trump and all of this rhetoric going on. The data does not show that, but really just honestly having honest conversations and barbershop conversations to say, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're trying to do. So this has been a great opportunity, and that's been the issue so thus far.
Hey, so just to pretty much jump into that conversation with you, Jordan, I know you very well-rounded guy, very well known. I know you've been across the country. I'm sure you're enjoying your tours right now. I think you just left a state recently, right? Which state was that?
Yeah, so I was just on the road in Wisconsin for a week in Green Bay, eating some cheese curds out there, and we had 3 rallies across the state. I was over with the Green Bay team, and we had a great major turnout next to the Green Bay Packer Stadium. So it was very neat to see all walks of life coming together to support Kamala Harris for the next president of the United States.
Super dope, man. A lot of the conversations and the networking that you've been doing recently, what's some of the challenges and frustrations that you heard recently from different individuals in the youth community?
I would say a lot of things that I've heard is there's been a lot of misinformation and disinformation regarding the stats of black men. I would say a lot of people are running off this rhetoric on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, X on just misinformation, and the data does not show that. Over 80% since LBJ, black men have voted over 80% Democratic, and the trend of saying, "Oh, right now because of checks." Or like PPP loans and all this type of stuff that hey black men are trending more Republican. The data does not show that. If anything, what wins every election is the couch. So to say the rhetoric is that is just not true. So that's been very frustrating going across the country and explaining to people of like why stuff is so high right now. We don't we're struggling with the understanding of economics. I think our school system needs to understand. We went through a pandemic. We had a supply chain issue. So inflation is like a hangover. In the short term, it feels good. You know, everything's cheap. But the long term, you have to wake up to that long drowsiness. So just explaining stuff in simple terms, I would say, would help get rid of this disinformation and misinformation. And honestly, we just need to personally educate ourselves on what economics is, what is expansionary policy is, what contractionary policy is, and that will help us bridge the gap of like what Biden has done to increase the money supply so we can keep the money flowing and not put us in a bad spot. So just I think the lack of education and wanting to, you know, get yourself warmed up to it has been the issue. And people have voter fatigue as well, so that plays a part as well.
That's great, man. What are some ways you think more within the youth community, our age, how can more of the youth community get more involved and engaged in today's election?
I think there's a lot of ways. If I had the right answer, I'd be a millionaire right now. So I don't have all the answers, but I think some things that we are missing, I would say from the Democratic side that we would address. I think black men have not had like basically an agenda within the last few years. Like um, Kamala Harris, she just put out an agenda of what would help black men. But I think the conversation or the agenda has not been there. And also the outreach perspective from a 65 plus, from 18 to 30, and then that middle age group has been not been addressed on that. And also those three different demographics all have different agendas. Some people want to, you know, Medicaid expansion. Some people want student loans. It's just a lot of varieties. Like black people are not a monolith. That has been said forever, and especially black men. We different generations communicate differently. Different generations have different values. So just more on outreach, more barbershop conversation. We're in a social media environment, so we need more black men. I mean, Martin is a great example of just putting out positive information of what's going on. But we need more people like that. You and I, Jaquan, we got to step up on a social media perspective of saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is what needs to be addressed. Have the parties thought about addressing this angle? So we got to do better at a youthful perspective on how we can engage differently. I don't think we have enough platforms that are engaging on misinformation, disinformation, which I think is the main thing, like I've said this whole time. But just really just basic conversation. Conversation rules the nation. So just really just going up and talking to people, addressing different platforms, and just putting out information that is accurate and is true. And I think that would help bridge the gap as well.
Yeah, I really enjoy and like what you said, man. I think, like you said, it kind of starts with the conversation and discussions that we have. I think us as black men, we fail to have the conversations that we need in order to actually amplify our voices and mobilize as a community as a whole. It's very rare that people my age, from my background, even talk about politics. The most people my age, I think, age group talk about is stimulus check, and I think they fail to realize that their conversation goes way far beyond that. Like simply, just like I said, being comfortable to even have the conversation or discussions. I think people nowadays need to find more reliable sources. I think we also pretty enjoy, like you said, with the platform, us as individuals. I think within our community, a lot of people rely too much on the shade room, like you said, TikTok, and they're an unreliable source. And I think they fail to do their own research after having those type of conversations. Almost as if like they're very gullible to where anything that anyone tell them, they're first believers. Same situation with the stimulus check and how they believe that it was delivered to them via Trump. That a lot of them fail to do the research on that topic and matter. So I think, like you said, I agree with having more discussion, making individuals feel more comfortable to having these conversations, and also being honest when you don't know things. I feel like a lot of people jump into these conversations about politics and don't really know the first half, nor like 25 to 10% of the actual conversation. And it's all like you said, it's misinformation that's being spread via people who don't conduct research. You have to conduct research. The research part is important. You have to do your research on the candidates. You have to do the research on the politics. You have to do research on local, state, and federal level. These are the people that make the change, and we are the ones that have the voices, like literally. And so that gets me to my next question I wanted to pretty much get into with you, Jordan. How can young black men from various backgrounds engage? Like, I'm sure you're aware of different organizations like what is 100 Black Men. I know there's an organization that's been mobilized for years, and I'm sure there's a bunch of different other organizations. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. Before I talk about those, I would say like there's a lot of money in ignorance. And the social media platforms capitalize off that. We're in a capitalistic society, so ignorance there's a lot of money in it. Yes, so I would say the new world now. The world is so small now, and there's so many reliable sources to like engage. Or if you don't know, you literally can just go to Google and research, and it will like break it down for you. Some of the things I would get to first is kind of like being like an old man in this sense. You know, back in the day, you used to use newspapers, but now we have social media. But so looking at reliable sources like CNN, MSNBC, your local news is, well, I'm from Jackson, Mississippi, so it'd be WABT, WLBT, WJTV, Fox 40. So local, and your national, and also what your local has state as well. So I would start with those platforms. If you want to dig in to maybe what a member of Congress says, a member of Congress, man or woman says, or a mayor, or they, a lot of times they have like outreach letters every month or every week. Subscribe to that so it can get sent to your email. Another way is just following these people and have the bell ringing on YouTube or Twitter as well. I know I have a few members of that. I want to see everything they say because I want to see the perspective of why they voted for this bill this way or why they want to put this bill on the floor. They also have apps for members of Congress. I don't remember the name on the top of my head, but you can look at every bill that is passed, that's getting out of committee, and it's a congressional app that you can see who voted for it, yay, nay. And yeah, so there's like so many, the world is so small now, and I don't think we're doing a good job of taking advantage of that because information is so out all the time. There's a million tweets every second of the day. So it's so much and people are getting overwhelmed by it. But also we need to know what's going on. So honestly, just localizing uh, different topics of what people are find important. Like uh, an example would be like President Biden forgave over 1 million people of student loans, or some things you care about, and research those things. So some people care about Medicaid expansion, Medicare expansion, $1 million for student loan forgiveness. Kamala Harris keeps on presenting her economic plan. There's so many things that I would say, but if you I would say focus on just keying in on what you specifically are into and just going from those platforms from local to state to national media platforms and certain individual people that are shown to be reputable and are to your interest. So I would do that.
Hey, great answer, man. I can say I also want to agree with you when it comes to like inclusivity, where it's like we actually have to create spaces to where these communities and groups can get involved and engage. I can say I'm a proud, if I haven't mentioned yet, I'm a proud native of Jackson, Mississippi. So shout out to all the Mississippi folks here today. I grew up playing outside. I was very well involved in the YMCA, if anyone's familiar with that. And that was my childhood. That was the people I was around. Those were my mentors. Those are my older friends. Those are my younger friends. And a lot of the conversations that we had, it was surrounded like anything that was in that environment, with like that was local for us. Anything that we had in terms of hands-on for us. And like I said, like we spoke about earlier, those conversations, those discussions that we have, that kind of leads the way for our victory. And if these conversations and questions are not being asked on hand, how can we ever like move forward and take action from anything that we don't really understand? I can say with Mississippi school system, with the education system, it's pretty bad. Looking back at how I took on my curriculum, I had to ask a lot of questions. If I had any type of curiosity, I had to ask the teacher. I had to ask my classmates. I had to go back home sometimes with questions like, this didn't make sense today. How can I find the answers to the things I don't understand? And I mean, I'm sure you know, Jordan, by now, I take on this experience as I go into the world, and I bring this curiosity everywhere with me. I bring it on as if I know anything, as if I just have a lot to learn, and I've learned that within education is powerful. A lot can be done with education, and it's something that can never be stripped away from you. But a lot of people don't even have access to the resources what they need, nor the answers to the questions that they have. A lot of people keep these questions to themselves, to where as if it's just holding this information in their brain, and the brain is not meant for holding information. It's meant for thinking. And I think that's one of the biggest problems that we have in today's societies, where we don't ask the questions that we really have. And so I kind of want to move over to the next question with you. How do we rebuild civics as care for engagement, if that makes sense for you?
Yeah, honestly, the family is the nucleus of that. I think a big part what will help regarding bringing in civics and camaraderie is first starts in the home. A lot of times mama cooks dinner and we go back to the room, and brother and sister are in different rooms. I think what would bring civics back to the home and understanding what we've come from and where we're going is honestly just dinner conversations. That's where the issues you have with mom or dad or brother and sister happen at. That's where the camaraderie of, hey, I got a game this week. I learned this in class. I want to know more about this. I would say bringing, trying, having the opportunity to have food and conversation at the dinner table would help unite civics. Another part is like self-interest. Like some people don't even know the difference of what the three branches of government has. Just look it up. We have 535 voting members of Congress, but there's something called a delegate to Congress, which territories run on, and they can't vote on the House floor because they're not a state, but they can vote in committee. Just knowing little keys and things like that is what we could do to move things forward. But I think it really just starts in the home, and also self-interest of I want to educate myself on this as well. Another thing is like civics is important, economics is important. Understanding supply and demand, shortage, uh, just different terms of like what's going on. Uh, Politics is literally affiliated with everything: gas, the food we eat, what we watch. It's money. It's economics. I don't feel like we talk about economics enough, and that's just important as civics because you will understand why decisions are made. You will understand monetary policy. You will understand fiscal policy. Those are two different things. Fiscal policies through Congress, monetary through policies through the Fed. They both are not the same thing, but they get intertwined like they are sometimes. And it's just little things that we could teach ourselves, or literally take a Khan Academy course on macro and microeconomics, and you will understand of why there was a PPP loan. You will understand why there was this money, such money supply, because we had to get people back being consumers. If people are not consuming, the money's not rolling, and that is how you don't have a growing GDP, which is gross domestic product. So, like, there's a lot of terms that we can understand of why decisions are made, and that we wouldn't be so mad at President Biden for fixing the things that were made from the past. And then that's why stuff has happened. But I think we should talk more about economics as well. But bringing back those conversations at the dinner table, like our grandparents did and like our parents had, I think would bring a lot more camaraderie. People want to be involved in the process because you have to be around each other. So I would bring that up.
Shout out to the elderly, man. I know my grandparents, they're so super proud of you, man, Jordan. Like, you've been doing epic things. I've been watching you along the way. I just want to truly say you're doing the Lord's work, man. Keep going, don't stop. I'm proud of you, the mentors, the mentees you may have, and the conversations that you're continuing to having upon social media, in person, in the workplace, in the office, wherever you may be, man. I know you're always doing the job and getting it done, man. I want to say for you putting on for Jackson State University, like I said, the accomplishments, the milestones, and everything that you're doing moving forward has been a huge impact. And I want to say, I know you're getting ready to gear the next leader to coming up, man. So don't stop, keep it going. I just want to say thank you for coming to our panel. It's been great. You gave some really great responses. I'm hoping that some people can take some things away from this panel and use them to, like I said earlier, to help mobilize and amplify a lot of voices within the youth community and other communities as well, because it don't stop here. Even after this election cycle, I'm hoping that a lot of people can mobilize and we can, like I said, we can amplify each other's voices and we get things moving. Like I said, thank you for your answers, and I want to pass it back over to Roland.
Appreciate you.
All right, gentlemen, glad. I certainly appreciate y'all having that conversation, folks. I'm live in Dallas. This week has been quite a busy week. Was in North Carolina for three stops earlier this week. We were there for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Elizabeth City State University on Wednesday. Word Tabernacle Church in my goodness, why is it escaping me right now? That's how long a week it was, folks. We were there on Thursday. And then, of course, we were at Fayetteville State University on Friday. Then traveled to Dallas yesterday, spoke at Friendship West Baptist Church. Early voting in Texas begins tomorrow, so I'll be going to the polls to vote with Reverend Frederick Douglass Haynes III, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And so all of that is happening. We are seeing vote totals come in some 26% of all Georgians have voted in early voting. Massive voter turnout there. But we got to make sure that our folks are getting out. Yesterday, there was a huge rally in Atlanta with Usher and Vice President Kamala Harris. Stevie Wonders and was there as well. He was at a church in Atlanta singing "Happy Birthday" to the Vice President. She turns 60 years old today. And so that's what's been going on. I'm sorry, yes, it was Rocky Mount. I told y'all it has been a very long 4 days, and so I'm going to be broadcasting my show, Rolling Out Unfiltered, from Friendship West tomorrow in Dallas. So if y'all in Texas, be sure to vote. Tell folks they need to get out there and vote as well. Again, we're seeing a massive voter turnout. We're seeing it in Pennsylvania. We're seeing it in Michigan and Nevada and Arizona. And so we got to make sure again that our folks are getting to the polls. If you're sitting here right now, you're trying to figure out what to do. What you should do is pick that phone up, call, text, tell folks to be sure to vote early. Get it done. Don't wait until November 5th. You need to go ahead and work right now. So see there's a question in the chat. Khalil, let me know who we got waiting to come on, and I'll bring them on. But somebody asked the question. Somebody asked the question. What do we tell young men, folks? I'm telling you right now. Listen, people are operating for what I call information deficit. They don't know what has been done. I know we tell folks where sources to go. Listen, I do a show every single day. I would love if a lot of these young brothers were watching my show, but they're not. So we got to go where they are. We have to be putting out great information in all of the places. And there are things that, so here's what I do. And I'm telling y'all, it's real easy. It's real easy. Somebody posted first of all, the Harris campaign posted on the social media about what taxes will go up under Donald Trump. This is the graphic right here. Okay, so you know what I did? I simply held a button down, saved that photo, and immediately posted that photo on my Instagram account. I'm going to post it on my TikTok account, my Snapchat account, my Spill account, my Spottable account. It's going to go on LinkedIn, Facebook. It's going to go on Twitter. And so that's 8 platforms. If you throw in Instagram, that's 9 platforms. You throw in fan base, that's 10 platforms. So it's going to go on all of those different platforms and threads, that's 11. So again, you could just save that one graphic. That's one of the things that you can do. You can go to, like I collaborated on a particular post as related to Black men and Project 2025. Same thing, sitting here, collaborating with that. We have to utilize what's at our disposal. Here's another graphic of what Mitch McConnell had to say about Donald Trump. Okay, I saw that graphic on social media, grabbed it. And so, same thing. So that's one of the things that you can actually do. If all of us, same thing. The Boston Globe put up a particular graphic where they talked about Trump's decline is too dangerous to ignore. And so this was the front page where I saw that graphic. Same thing. Grab that graphic, boom, post it on all social media accounts. Those are the things that we can do. Those are things that we can do. And so, this is what I want us to be sitting here thinking about, focusing on in terms of how we share information. Okay, let's not assume they're going to go where they are. This is how we share information. All right, we've got let's see, okay, who are, let's see here. All right, I'm going through our next group of speakers. And I'm looking. So Trenton Benton, Anthony Jackson, and Keen, if you can bring both of them up, and also Michael Brent. Trenton Benton, Anthony Jackson, and Michael Brent. Bring them on up. All right, that's two of them. We should have one more. Trenton Benton, Anthony Jackson, Michael Brent. All right, got all three gentlemen. Glad to have y'all here. Let me sort of start with this here. Trenton, I'll start with you. When you have conversations with young brothers, young sisters too, about this election, what are they saying? What are you hearing? And how are you articulating to them what's at stake?
That's a great question. I've noticed that the young voters, especially being at the number one largest public HBCU, that there is a all or nothing response. We're either very fired up and ready to rally behind Kamala, or under the impression that the fact that our vote does not count. I feel like the 2016 election, for me as a first time voter and a lot of Generation Z as well, this is our first time voting. So the 2016 election kind of ruffled our feathers a little bit when we didn't see the popular vote get the win. That kind of disheartened a lot of the young voters now, feeling that, oh, our vote doesn't count, it won't matter, not understanding how the electoral college works in the end. So I think I definitely agree with you on the fact that we are misinformed, ill-informed, and whatever information we see first on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter is what we will believe. So definitely trying to spread true information across Generation Z.
So with that, do you explain to them, Trenton, that look, your vote does count because your vote goes towards the electoral college,
Oh,
and to understand that because again, this notion that it doesn't count, or it counts, but that's basic civics.
yes. I definitely try whenever I hear that idea or ideal, I definitely try to correct it immediately. Because it also goes back to the home. Me personally, my mother, my sister, they very heavily hammered the fact that you will be voting. This is what your ancestors fought for. And they explained the electoral college to me because I know myself, I was also confused. I felt for a minute, oh, so does our vote really count? But I was informed of the electoral college and how that works. And your vote actually counts more because of the fact of the electoral college. So I definitely try to get that out.
Anthony, same question to you. What are you encountering out there when you're having these conversations with young brothers, but also young sisters?
Well, first and foremost, there's a perception issue. I feel like there's a lot of people who go online, like I think it was Jordan. He was saying about how you just go on TikTok and you see all these little 60-second videos describing a certain situation in multiple different ways, using all kinds of language. Um, there's a responsibility to do our own research as young people. As citizens in America, we, are responsible for kind of just all the policies that could bring change to our communities. And, our power lies in voting for the person that we strongly believe in. I think in this particular race, there's a matter of, I guess, image. When you think about what young people of color and women and our daughters and our kids, how is America going to look like for them? I mean, it's responsible to kind of look at what each candidate is doing and the change that they could bring, whether they're Republican or Democratic. But it's also important to go and see that we're potentially going to have a woman person of color in the office, and I think that definitely warms up the idea that we can, as people of color, we can be something someday. You know what I mean? Like, we can change how we feel about ourselves, because when we see Kamala in the office and there's all these little 60-second videos on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or what have you, it changes perception. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a wonderful thing. And I think that's, at the very least, regardless of what you consider about policy, I think that's something that's important in this race, and that's kind of what I discuss with the people that I encounter.
Michael, the sentiments. What are you hearing? What is coming across to you?
Well, thank you so much, Brother Martin, for having us on. I think one thing that I took away from what two of my peers have already mentioned is that there's a lot of excitement either way. I think with that excitement, it comes a sense of urgency and trying to understand exactly what the issues are. So I think that's one of the biggest things, just trying to figure out what the issues are for a lot of young people. So what I've been trying to tell them is think about taxes, think about your healthcare, think about rent control, which is one huge instrument of policy that we've seen Vice President Harris discuss in this election. I think that's going to be one of the moving factors for a lot of young people, especially young Black men and young Black women who are here feeling the effects of the economy in which we've come to realize is not working in our favor as much as we would like it to. I think that's going to be one of the more consequential decisions that we're going to have when we get to the ballot box. I've already voted. I'm here in Georgia. I know we've done a march to go and send a lot of folks to our polling location in the Atlanta University Center. I go to Clark Atlanta University. And, it's consequential to get people to vote, but understand where their vote's going to and what it's going for as well. There's a saying that the Black community is conservative in a lot of ways. I don't know if I agree with that fully. However, when it comes down to it with young Black Americans, I think it's consequential that we put our foot in the door and that we don't ignore the civic responsibility, in quotations, of course, the civic responsibility that we have to be involved some way, somehow. I like the conversation about the Electoral College. I think that's very important. But just breaking down those numbers, 538 electoral votes coming from 435 members of the House, 100 senators, 3 electoral votes that come from the District of Columbia. Those are very important facts that we have to break down. We have a lot of young Black men who understand every single statistic that are coming from sports or whatever they may be interested in. We need to break civics down that exact same way so that people understand exactly how this works, how this operates. The more educated we are, the better we are.
Let's talk about very specific issues. How are you walking people through the public policy when it comes to issues? Any one of you can jump in. Did y'all hear my question?
Yeah, I'll start.
Go ahead.
One way I'll start is, of course, with Vice President Harris's housing policy. I'm very interested in the tackling of rent control by going after certain landlords that may be upping prices on purpose, but more importantly, billion-dollar corporations that are buying properties. People like to talk about the economy as if they're experts all the time. But we know what supply and demand is. The Vice President Harris policy, when she does become the president, will include helping create more houses, which is going to go and hit the supply and demand, and also making sure that certain organizations and companies cannot just buy up properties and rent them out to people at crazy prices. That's going to be super helpful. That's going to really get to the root of the problem that we continue to see here in the United States.
Definitely. For me, my major is I study environmental studies at North Carolina A&T State University. And what got me interested in really looking into the policies and what these politicians stand on is somebody relaying the connection and what I'm interested to politics. So just me growing up, I witnessed environmental injustice in my community every day, seeing the landfills put near the Black communities, hearing about Flint, Michigan, and how the African American community was disadvantaged in the water crisis because of unfair governance. It definitely is what drove me to look into the political backgrounds and what they stand on. So definitely trying to, again, what I agree with what he said about connecting it to what they're interested in. They may be interested in sports. That may be what motivates a young Black man to vote, researching what they're interested in the candidate.
Okay. Um, when we've heard so many people talk about Black men want their issues addressed specifically. And then when I throw that out there, when I ask them, well, what specifically, a lot of folk can't name stuff specifically. Have y'all encountered that as well? And have you been somewhat perplexed by that?
Yes, 110%. When I hear that, it does make me laugh, but it also makes me pretty sad because I feel as though I think our community needs to do a better job of realizing that a lot of the times our issues are not always so separate, whether it's a man or a woman. I think in this case, we've seen Black men trying to really garner the respect that I think we definitely deserve. And in this case, in politics, I think that's exactly the case. Is an unfortunate scenario where there isn't as much respect as there needs to be when it comes to the specific policy matters. So, definitely when we're looking at what specific issues Black men are facing, I think we can talk about mental health. I think we can talk about economics. I think we can talk about all these things, but they're the same issues a lot of Black women are facing as well. So it's not as though they're so separate. I think that's one of the main issues, is that there is no separation of a lot of these issues. It's all in tandem. We're all kind of in this together, unfortunately.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Um, so I come from Baltimore County, but I also come from a suburban area in Illinois. So I've kind of seen it both ways, where there's opportunity one places and not so much in the other. So when I hear somebody talk about the opportunities they wish they had, I get it. Like I've seen ample people just skyrocket into their lives just problem free, and then I've seen the opposite, where nobody knows what to do once they get out of high school. And I've been there myself. There are things we could do, and it's some of the time it's something we can do personally. Sometimes it's not necessarily the cards we were dealt, but for sure it's definitely like it's a systemic thing. It's people of color are definitely preyed upon, unfortunately, and I'm living proof of that.
Go ahead.
I definitely agree. The issues that Black men face are very similar to, again, Black women. They're not just things that we face as a whole. Um, but yes, there could definitely be a lot more respect for the political community.
All right. So let's do a scenario here. You're out and about. You come upon a brother, and he says, "Man, forget that. This politics stuff don't make any sense. There's no impact on my life. Why should I waste my time and vote?" You got 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds to tell him why. So give me your 30-second pitch, and I'm gonna start the stopwatch.
I'll go ahead and I'll go first. Um, in 30 seconds, I would tell him, if he's got somebody he cares about, if there's a future that he wants to protect, if there's something that he, thinks is important for his community, I feel like at the very least, before giving up, he should at least consider going to the polls and voting on these issues that he cares about. And it doesn't take a whole lot of effort. You just need to kind of have your registration and vote and show up and actually do the process, and that's all it takes. And then that's all you can do sometimes, and that's enough.
All right, that was 33 seconds, but I'll give you a reprieve. All right, next one, go.
Okay. I would definitely start with the importance of legacy. I would say your grandfather's father, he could not vote, even though he may have wanted to change things about the economy or what he witnesses and experiences in his everyday life, but he couldn't because he wasn't allowed to. So what your great grandfather fought for, you're just gonna give up. You're gonna waste because you don't feel it's important. That I think you should definitely go exercise your right that your ancestors earned for you to change what what you want to see changed in your community.
All right, that was 40 seconds. Yep, you went 40. All right, let's go. You're on the clock.
You're your best advocate. You're your biggest advocate. LeBron James wouldn't bench himself. Stephen Curry wouldn't bench himself. Serena Williams wouldn't bench herself. You should go out there and advocate for yourself through voting. If you care about people with pre-existing conditions having health care, maybe you are one of those people, you're going to vote for a party that's going to protect that. If you want to vote for better water quality, you're going to vote for a party that's going to actually go and implement policies that are going to stop lead pipes from being put into our communities. If you want to go and help in regards to climate change, we're seeing a lot of issues that are going on. You're going to vote for a party that believes in climate change. This is your time to shine. This is your moment. You should do something and not just stand down and sit down and not do much. That's what I got.
All right, that was 33 seconds. All right, so if I encounter that particular brother, this is how I'm gonna hit him. I'm gonna say, first and foremost, there's no aspect of your life that government does not have a role in. From the moment you're born to the moment you die, government has a role. So, do you care about criminal justice reform? Do you care about economic growth? Do you care about entrepreneurship? Yes. Do you care about the environment? Do you care about any of this? Well, whoever is in charge will make a determination on all of those things. And so if you vote or you don't vote, trust me, somebody else, they will be casting a ballot. Booyah!
Or I need to get like you.
But the thing is, but the thing is, this is what we have to do. And I don't care whether we're talking to young brothers, young sisters, middle age, older. We have to hit folk on the issues. And so one of the things that I encourage everybody to do, if you encounter somebody who's that way, first of all, right now, if you're in a state where the voter registration deadline is passed, I mean, I don't mean no disrespect to anybody who isn't registered, but right now, I'm not. If the deadline is passed, I'm not wasting my time with somebody who's not registered. Okay, so I'm just not. Okay, so if deadline to register passed, like in North Carolina, yo, it was like it's already passed. So I was spending my time focused on people who already registered. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna ask them, give me the three things that you care about, and I'm gonna force them to give me three things, and I'm gonna tie those three things directly to if there's a gubernatorial race, if there's a congressional race, a U.S. Senate race, the presidential race, and then engage them that way. Because I think we have to force people to have to name the issues and not speak in sort of these just broad, general terms. And so I think that's one of the ways that's just critically important. I do it all the time, all the time. Like for instance, right now. Okay, here's a perfect example. Somebody's in the chat going, stop shaming black people into voting without tangibles in a black crime bill. First of all, that person has no idea what the hell they're talking about. Okay, because there's no such thing as a black crime bill. It doesn't exist. You can't have a black crime bill. There literally is no such thing as a black crime bill. Okay? Now, is a criminal justice reform bill? Here's the deal. Democrats passed the George Floyd Justice Act in the House. It died in the Senate because two Republicans, Senator Tim Scott and Senator Lindsey Graham, actually blocked the bill from moving forward. They needed 10 Republicans to vote with it. They couldn't get those 10 Republicans to actually vote with it. But here's the other deal. The Biden-Harris administration did issue the executive order, but you also have a Department of Justice that has conducted 12 police patterns and practices investigation. There was one under Donald Trump. Under Biden-Harris, a number of former cops, former jail wardens, correction officers have been sent to prison for their abuse of people and inmates. Did you hear that happening under Trump and Pence? No, they did not. So again, if folk want to have that conversation, let's go. We can have that conversation. I'll take on anybody on this, but I think there are people who are literally saying all sorts of crazy stuff about what didn't happen and all sorts of stuff like that. Literally under Biden Harris, you have seen black business startups triple in the past 3 years, the most in 30 years. Triple. So this idea that Trump has been better for businesses is not true. In fact, under Biden Harris, African American businesses have received a record $10 billion in federal contracts. I dare anybody to ask Donald Trump what that number was. And I see people talking about Donald Trump and the McDonald's. That McDonald's, he didn't work a shift. The McDonald's was closed. And the people who go through the drive-through, they were actually rehearsed them so that they weren't regular, ordinary people. And so this is where we also have to refute a lot of these lies that are being told out here because they exist. And also, for the people who yell intangibles, let me remind every single one of those people, you can't receive anything from a candidate unless they win. So no candidate can give you tangibles unless they're already in office. I'm just saying. Final comment from each one of you.
Get to the polls.
Well, that was simple. All right. Someone else?
I'll second that. Try to inform the Generation Z, the first-time voters, because we definitely need it. There's a huge wave of misinformation and just social media itself putting out whatever information you want. Somebody will believe it. So please try to spread true information and vote.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is just we have to start being, kinder to one another, especially in these times, especially as Black men, how we converse with one another is, I think, so significant, and how we approach things. But when it comes down to certain falsehoods and certain misrepresentations, that needs to be called out. And I think we are our best accountability, our best, person to kind of say, hey, we got to approach this a different way, and we should be doing that a lot more. So I think tone and approach is everything, and we can approach these things significantly better. And I'm hoping that we're going to see a great message and a great, showing of that come November 5th. So thank you guys so much for having us.
Appreciate it. Trenton Benton, Anthony Jackson, Michael Brent. Gentlemen, I appreciate all of y'all being with us. And so let's make this thing happen and bring it on home. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, some of you have asked, yes, today I was on ABC News digital show. That's available on my YouTube channel. When we get done, my man Keenan's going to post my hit on MSNBC. That's going to be on my YouTube channel as well. So some of y'all asking in the chat. So I certainly appreciate that. Let's go to Mayor Leonardo Williams out of North Carolina. Mayor Williams, glad to have you here. First of all, you're mayor of what city in North Carolina?
Hey, what's going on, Fred? How's everybody doing? It's good to be on. I'm here in Durham, North Carolina, and Kamala Harris has spent quite a bit of time here. Many of you probably have seen the Black male agenda. The alpha man that's taking that selfie with her is me. I also recorded a video. I'm a former drum major at North Carolina Central, and we just recorded a video of marching to the polls, well over 1,000 students here at NCCU. That video has now since gone viral, and it's making my battery drain on my phone because all of the alerts are going through. But North Carolina is actually performing. Too close for comfort for me, but we are performing. Democrats are up about 10%, I would say, over the registered Republicans right now. We did break the record so much that we ran out of ballots the first day. Ran out of ballots, but we got that shipment in here in Durham. We are good to go. We broke the record across North Carolina with early voting. We did have the hurricane that literally ripped apart Western North Carolina. And I don't want to be cynical about this. You know, Republicans usually talk about a lot of voters, just voters, scare tactics, voter fraud. Fortunately, all of those restrictions around voting was lifted for Western North Carolina, but also at the same time, there are 400 and I don't know 30,000 registered Republicans and 280,000 registered Democrats, but about 450,000 unaffiliated uh, in Western North Carolina. So they will be able to vote without having to deal with IDs or anything like that. But along with breaking that record, we are turning out every single day. And what we're seeing mostly is there are younger people that are actually turning out in historic numbers. We're encouraging everyone. We're encouraging everyone to vote early as possible. You know, to be very intentional. And obviously, North Carolina is a hot state, so Bill Clinton might as well have an air mattress here because he's here every day. Tim Walz, and I'm sure Kamala Harris has been here 20 right at 20 times, and she's hopefully going to come more. And we're now focusing on the rural part of the state, which is where we really win. So we're performing. We have a horrible gubernatorial candidate for the Republicans, and I think that's going to help us down ballot as well as up ballot.
Well,
So
the point you just made about rural, that's why I was in Eastern North Carolina,
yep.
because you have very large black voter blocks there. The Vice President Kamala Harris, when she went to Greenville, that was her first time in East North Carolina since 2020. She had been in Western North Carolina 16 times, and so we can't ignore those rural parts of North Carolina because there's so many black votes out there. People are on the ground, they're knocking on doors, they're canvassing. I was there in Elizabeth City, in Rocky Mount, in Fayetteville,
The hometowns. Yep.
and so folks are there. They are actually making it happen, and so those are just crucial areas.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm from out that area, Roland. We have a brother, another frat, Rodney Pierce, who's state representative elect, who's doing a lot of work out there. But also, a lot of folks are taking it in their own hands. And I'm spending my time out east as well. And that's where actually the loyal Black Democratic support is. So we can't ignore it, like you said. I'm going to spend a great deal of time out there getting folks out and about. NCCU has homecoming this weekend. I'm going to host a party that's geared around voter registration and engagement for wherever people are. So I'm excited, man. The energy is great. The energy is great here.
I think what we have, I think what has to, again, I think what we have to do is our call to action really has to be connecting the dots and getting people to understand truly what is at stake in this election. This is not a personality contest. It literally is a matter of of our issues being on the ballot. And so that's how we have to really be challenging people to understand what's going on.
Yeah, Project 2025 is a lot to digest. People say, "Oh my God, it's 900 pages," but we just break down to the most recent comment, taking away the education department. And as the news anchor on, the entertainment news, Fox or whatever said, what if someone teaches this new crazy history on America was built on the backs of slaves? Like they're saying the quiet part out loud. And the thing is, if there are people who are having an issue with this Black woman leading this country, I think they have an issue with themselves. Because a woman raised them, a woman birthed them. So we do have to connect the issues. We have to see ourselves in the policies, but we also have to see what we wouldn't have and what people are trying to take away. I'm an educator by trade, and to hear taking away the entire education department and just like giving it to anybody is enough for me. But there is a lot in Project 2025 that should be enough for anyone. And I do think we have to break it down so it's not overwhelming, so people can see what and how it would actually impact them.
Well, absolutely. And the folks at Hip Hollywood put out a
Yes.
video specifically having brothers read Product 2025. I've shared it on social, and that's something that I think a lot of us need to be pushing and sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be talking about it a bit more in depth this Wednesday night, I believe at 7 p.m. on the Black Man Can. I'm going to do a live with the Black Man Can, and we're going to talk a bit more about some of those points. But Hip Hollywood hit it right on the head. You know, that education. And I mean, granted, I follow Plies. I love his like commentary. He does a really good job as well. So you can't follow Hip Hollywood. Follow Plies and listen to him just kind of laugh through the silliness and talking
Right.
about some of the points in it.
All right, Mayor Williams, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for giving us an update of what's happening in the Tar Heel State. All right,
You got
folks,
it.
let's talk about Pennsylvania. That is one of the 7 battleground states. State Senator Vincent Hughes joins us from Pennsylvania. Senator Hughes, give us an assessment what's happening there.
Thanks, Roland. So look, we're 15 days out. And the moment really is right now or the strategy is right now, has got to be flood the zone. Tomorrow is the last day for voter registration. The 29th is the last day to cast vote by mail ballots. We've got to be in the business of flooding the zone. What does that mean? Anybody, everybody who's within the ear of this conversation needs to get to Pennsylvania, needs to get to Philly. I got extra concerns about Harrisburg. I got extra concerns about Pittsburgh, but I'm not on the ground there as much as others are, but needs to, at the very least, get to Philadelphia, join a group, speak at a church, speak at a masjid, speak wherever that can be arranged for you to speak at, but we got to be in the business of flooding the zone. What I'm saying here is no different than what I've said to the campaign. Triple the buys that are currently going on, triple the placements that are currently going on. Get as many messengers, trusted messengers, talking about the importance of this and talking about just the need to get to vote and to participate. It appears in Pennsylvania, and I did vote by mail this afternoon with my mother, who was a proud Pennsylvania Hall of Fame voter. All right, so that's mom. But it appears that in Philadelphia, vote by mail applications may be down compared to 2020 by about 100,000 or so. Now, some of the feedback has been, well, in 2020 we had the pressure of COVID, and that was real. That obviously has receded now, but it appears that the numbers are indicating that we're down by about 100,000. In talking in some of these settings, just in general, I think we gotta stop saying that Black men are not voting.
Right.
Well, Black men are voting. All right. And I think we got to say, because if we keep saying Black men are not voting, then, it becomes a thing and possibly a self-fulfilling prophecy. We got to stop that. Black men are voting. We want more to vote. We want to communicate more and deeper. All right. I would suggest the authenticity, Roland, of your conversation with the vice president and your interview with her about a week ago, and some other situated. We need that piece that was done on Project 2025. I saw that. It was an excellent piece. Figure out ways we can clip that and get them downloaded into these screens in these barbershops, all right? So they can see that message coming in almost continuously rolling, almost continuously going. One of the things that seemed to hit home in a barbershop conversation, about a 3-hour barbershop conversation this past Friday evening, was we talked obviously about the differences between the two: clear and present danger, clear and present opportunity, agenda for Black men, fully detailed out by the vice president. The agenda for Black men from Trump was clearly the reinstitution of stop and frisk, the lack of oversight for police departments. And then we talked about the constitutional amendment piece. And the thing that seemed to hit home, that got everybody sitting on the edge of their chair, we talk about eliminating, as Trump has said, just suspending the Constitution. And specifically, what does that mean? Well, let's go back to illegal search and seizures, which is, I believe, Fourth Amendment protection. And basically, I ran the story. I said, all right, if that's not in place, then what you got is a situation where any law enforcement, any police officer can come into this barbershop and just roust up everybody, grab everybody, and take them down to the local precinct. That seemed to get folks' attention. That got folks' attention in the barbershop on Friday evening, got folks' attention in the church this morning when I spoke at one of the two churches. So if we're looking for messaging, that seemed to be something to grab folks' attention. But just in general, what I would ask, being on the ground here, is we're in flood the zone mode now. All right, just get back rolling. Those 2 days in Philadelphia that you did were powerful. The piece out of Lincoln was powerful. But as many folks as possible can get back to Pennsylvania and be engaged in some fashion, some form. The surgical pieces that were being done in terms of reaching voters now, in many respects, that period has come to an end. We got to be in flood the zone, increase the excitement, increase the attention, increase the commitment to get this mission done. That's the short of it, Roland. I'll do my best to try to answer any questions.
To your point, what we have to do is, again, it's very simple. Folks can grab videos from Twitter, from Instagram. You can use repost on Instagram. I'm going to be posting several more clips of the interview and really having that. And you're right. That's what we have to be doing. Again, you can't be in all places. I can't be in all places. But we have to be using social media. And so when I post something, I post it on all 11 platforms I'm on. So everybody is seeing it.
Mm-hmm. And I saw your stuff and immediately, reposted it. I'm not on 11 different platforms, bro. I'm far fewer than that. But the point of the matter is getting them into these places. It's excellent material. You are a trusted messenger. You're a trusted communicator. And when it gets through all the noise and people are seeing that while they're sitting there waiting for their cut, it has an impact. It certainly has an impact.
Absolutely. All right. Well, keep the work going in Pennsylvania. As you say, we got to be flooding the zone each and every single day. Stay tuned to Vincent Hughes. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Let's go to Michigan. Alex Lofton is in Michigan. Alex, Michigan, another battleground state. Give us a sense of what's happening there.
Y'all, thanks for having me on. I'm calling from my car because I'm on the road every day here. I'm GOTV director for the campaign here in Michigan. Got to echo everything that was talked about. Pennsylvania is similar, very similar here in Michigan. I think one of the things that I will say to our colleagues in Pennsylvania, the setup around Pennsylvania a few weeks ago, the whole narrative was that it was only going to come down to that state. And that a place like Michigan was a blue wall that was just got to hold it and we're good. The reality is that we are as much of a toss-up as anywhere else. It could come down to this state now, just like we were talking about Pennsylvania, which is not the spot we wanted to be in, but it's the spot we're in right now. It's, yes. So in Michigan, we have many different ways that people can vote. Started with vote by mail, started September 26th. In-person early voting started in Detroit yesterday. And the rest of the state, it's going to be starting on next Saturday, October 26th. So there's a lot of different ways to vote. So far with vote by mail, yes, we are down compared to 2020, but that's, a lot of that has to do with how many people were voting because they weren't going out because of COVID. On the good side, on the positive side, the city of Detroit is outperforming the rest of the state when it comes to vote by mail. But again, those overall numbers are down. So, that's a good sign, but because the total number is down, it's a little bit of an unknown. And early vote here being extended to start well before election day is brand new in Michigan, which is exciting. We got a lot of energy around it. We're trying to build on that. But again, it's a variable we don't really yet know. We don't have a lot of data on how that's going to compare to past cycles. So we are doing our best to understand voting given the data we have, and it's a lot of new here. I'd also say that the people's I'm echoing the same thing. People's decisions are made as much online as they are offline. So a lot of this has to do with sorry, my car light just went off. A lot of this has to do with just making sure we are getting messages that counter all the disinformation that's out there. So everything I was saying about just posting the truth and reposting the truth is right on. We're trying to double that, back that up with activations in the state, both at the doors. So we got a full door knocking program across the state, in Detroit, in places like Flint, Saginaw, Lansing, Grand Rapids, where most of our voters are. So we're trying to plug people into that program, as well as making sure that our street teams and our retail lit teams here in Detroit have the right messengers to be going out to barbershops, to going out to the local stores and just talking to people about the campaign, making sure they have the lit that they need, but also have the talking points that they need. So get your ass out to Detroit, get your ass out to Flint, Saginaw, Lansing. That's where we need the help. If you're wondering where to get plugged in, you can come to us at the campaign. I'm happy to be a conduit for that. But also, don't wait for the campaign. Just show up and share this message. If you got connections to Detroit, if you got connections to Michigan, we just need you to show up. So that's again, a lot of my brother from Pennsylvania shared exactly the sentiments that we're seeing here in Michigan, but we are just as much tied as anywhere else. We're going to need the help. So if you got the connection, come out.
How do you think the Trump attack on Detroit is playing? Has that pissed folks off? Is it motivating them?
It definitely has motivated people. For those who don't know, Donald Trump said that here in Detroit, said that if Kamala Harris got elected, the whole country would be like Detroit, and did not say that in a positive light. And boy, I have never heard so many F-bombs dropped on a statewide conference call with a bunch of staff members as I did the day after that happened. The campaign did a 1 minute cut ad around that, and that's got a lot of traction. So that kind of let's not mess around and just get to it. Energy is definitely here, and we just need more bodies. We need more bodies who share that message and are the right messenger for folks in the community. So it's definitely help, but we got to just keep riding that wave.
Absolutely. Folks talk about Detroit. What would you say is the second and third most important city in Michigan for Black turnout?
It's got to be places like Flint, Michigan, Saginaw. There's also just a lot of our folks in and around Metro Detroit too. People think about Detroit City is very important, needs the support. There's a lot of money and a lot of energy coming into the city. We can't forget the suburbs, places just outside of Detroit have a lot of diversity, right? They have a lot of different people. We also got our brothers and sisters who are part of the Arab community. It's a big part here. Places like Dearborn, even Hamtramck here in Detroit. These are all places that if you have connections that cross different lines, that is extremely important here too. There's a lot of pain and anguish in that community about what's happening around the world. A lot of that is just showing up and listening more than pushing. And with that listening, we hope to show that our campaign is the one that cares. And then, of course, Grand Rapids in the western part of the state also is a major place to turn out a lot of votes for us that needs a lot of help too. So I definitely say kind of the eastern part with Detroit and Saginaw and Flint, Grand Rapids, and places like Lansing are going to be the places we need folks.
All right, then. All right. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much, Alex. Thanks a lot for that update. Let's see here. Khalil, who we got next? Checking to see who we got next, folks. To jump on. We got different people from the various battleground states, so we appreciate them taking the time to come on. Let us know what's going on. Nick out of Wisconsin. Nick.
Hey, Roland. Really nice to meet you. Thank you for having me here.
Yes, sir. What's popping?
Well, we're really excited. So as of right now, sorry, my phone is off the hook. We know we are going through the final things of it. But early voting has started here in Wisconsin. This is public information, but we have 324,586 votes casted in Wisconsin today in absentee mail-in ballots. On this Tuesday on October 22nd, in-person early voting begins depending on the municipality you live in. So folks living in Wisconsin or know folks in Wisconsin, tell them they can go to myvote.wi.gov, find their polling location, and get out to vote. And also the benefits of early voting in person in Wisconsin, you can register on site and vote the same day you come. You just need to bring your photo ID to vote, and a proof of residence. In Wisconsin, we are having daily actions to get involved. You can get involved by signing up to volunteer, whether that's in person. So if you want to come and knock some doors, we are more than welcome. You're more than welcome to come. You can join us in our out-of-state volunteer phone banks. I will be sending just a sign-up form for folks who want to get plugged in. And we're also having a really exciting things of national surrogates coming to Wisconsin. I think every state will tell you this, but I'm just going to give the pitch. Wisconsin is the tipping point, as goes Wisconsin. So does the rest of the nation. We have decided recent presidential elections, and even in 2016 when Wisconsin went blue, in 2016 Wisconsin went red. We saw the results of it, and we were able to turn that around by electing our Governor Tony Evers, re-electing Senator Tammy Baldwin, electing President Biden and Vice President Harris in 2020, and also flipping our Supreme Court in 2023. We have a lot of guests coming to Wisconsin this week. We have President Obama coming in to kick off early voting this Tuesday in Madison to get out the youth vote. We have the vice president coming tomorrow, as well as Governor Walz going to Racine, Wisconsin, another critical, important spot in the southeastern portion of the state to get out to vote for the vice president. As we're going into early voting, other things that we are doing is early vote block parties to focus on Black, Brown, and youth communities in areas of the state. So things near parties near college campuses, parties near in central city neighborhoods. The goal is to get folks out to vote and engage and meet folks where they are at. We are really excited to have to have these opportunities and to really fight forward. We're also building a broad bipartisan support, which is on full display with the vice president. Not only are we coalescing our coalition with Black men, Black women, other coalition groups, we're also reaching across the aisle and getting former Republicans to come over, which is helping us win over independents here in the state, and also some more conservative folks in our community to come over and vote for Vice President Harris. We are knocking doors every weekend. We are talking to voters every day. And just some of the things I've heard from folks doing the doors in Milwaukee is we're knocking on folks' doors and they say to us, "Oh, I know it's time. You don't have. We're going to vote for Vice President Harris, and we're also going to be bringing 3 to 5 people to come vote with us." So folks are excited, but we can't leave any stone unturned. Wisconsin is decided by an average of 1 to 2 votes per ward within the state. So if there's any question that your vote does not matter, or someone says to you their vote does not matter, just look at Wisconsin. So look forward to having y'all come up and help with us, and just really excited to be here, and thank you for the honor. And Mr. Martin, I look forward to seeing you in Wisconsin very soon.
Oh, absolutely. So I will be in Milwaukee on October 31st. I have a economic speech I got to give on the 31st, and it'll be broadcasting my show from there that night. So absolutely looking forward to it. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Mike Bland. He is the Southern States Director for the Harris-Walz campaign. Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening, brothers. Good to see you. Just like other brothers, I am in the car. I'm excited to just report, man. We are we are kicking ass and taking names. Nick gave a phenomenal overview on the great work that we are doing across the battlegrounds, but particularly in Wisconsin. And Nick is right. What happens in Wisconsin could tip the nation, but not only in Wisconsin, we got to think about Georgia. We got to think about North Carolina. We are voting at a very high rate, but one of the things that I will mention, Roland, so are the Republicans. And to your point, I'd like to say to our crowd, we know that I like to say we're singing to the choir. We're talking to each other. I had a great conversation with Brother Blake the other day, and I said, Mike, we've got to talk to the Pop Warner coaches. We've got to talk to the AAU coaches. We've got to talk to people who are boots on the ground, right? People who deal with our black and brown babies every single day and remind them what's at stake. We've got to get Tyrone off the couch. And how we do that, Roland, one of the things that I think about how we do that is we've got to text 5 people that we haven't talked to in a while. Everybody asks me, what can they do? Not everybody knocks on doors. Not everybody makes phone calls. Not everybody writes postcards. You've got to text 5 people that you otherwise normally wouldn't talk to and ask them if they're voting. And not only ask them if they're voting, encourage them to vote. It's going to be that close. As we see the polling every single day, some of the external stuff that you all are seeing mirrors what we see. And so what I will tell you is we know that it's going to be razor thin. But how we do that, we've got to get brothers, ordinary brothers, to do extraordinary things. And it is true, right? There is a bit of a gap. I think some folks have heard this before, but it is true. There is a bit of a gap between brothers 18 to 50. They just have to be reminded what's at stake. And we've learned once we remind them what's at stake, what's on the ballot in terms of what democracy means to us, as in economics, as in liberties for our black and brown babies, as in liberties for our daughters, for our sons. Once we remind them of that we are the ones who are fighting for that on a federal level, we seem to trend in a better way. So I say all that. We are doing, again, the first day in Georgia, they tripled the amount of folks that early voted. And then we look at what's, as we're preparing in North Carolina and the different churches across the country, you're seeing, you're seeing pastors and clergy move people like they haven't moved people before. I mean, the energy is there. And that's one of the things that I say, you can't measure energy. That's usually not captured in the poll. So I know that we're getting ready to do something phenomenal, but I have to remind brothers, keep the foot on the neck, and be where your feet are. Of course, we want to be all over the country, but organize the hell out of your community. In the literal sense, organize the hell out of your community. You've got to get these our auxiliary groups, brothers who want to be a part of something, want to do something. The best thing they can do is not only vote, but think about 5 other brothers that they know, and encourage them to vote.
You're absolutely right about that. The point that you made about look, Republicans are voting too, and this is where we have to understand that every single vote does matter. I can't stress enough. In North Carolina, a few years ago, Sherry Beasley was a Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court. She lost her race by 401 votes. We've seen elections in Virginia that was a tie, and they had to pull a name out of a hat that determined who was going to control the assembly. They pulled the name of the Republican. That means Republicans. They were able to control the House of Delegates because of that, and then the race was tied. So no one can even remotely think that that elections don't matter.
Absolutely. And I think, more personally, Merlin, we talk about the presidential levels and the impact. And I heard the brothers, my God, was I wild. And I know that our future is safe by the young brothers that were on before. But one of the things that I think about, folks talk about the Electoral College, that yes, there is the Electoral College, but what does move is the federal level and the Senate level. We've seen Senate races, although, far and few, we've seen like the Democrats are walking away with the seats that they need to run away with. But those are going to be the ones that approve our federal judges. And I say we don't talk about that enough. One of the things, Roland, that I mentioned is that how do we get black and brown men to get out to vote? One of the things I said, Roland, was look, we got to remind brothers that the people that want to change our laws federally look like us. For example, we still have brothers that come home from prison, and cannot live with their families if their wife or their partner's on Section 8. That's a disaster. And the only way that changes is if we have somebody like Vice President Kamala Harris. We talk about economics for black and brown men. We talk about not jobs, but how do we get careers? Oftentimes, particularly, I think about the state of New Jersey, where it costs nearly $20,000 to get your apprentice certificate. And that's to cut hair. Brothers like to cut hair, right? And so we don't talk about that enough. We don't talk about the finite, the granular things that really matter, that really move our community. But the only people that are going to move that are people that look like us. And then when we step up and have a voice at the polls. So my encouragement to everybody else too, Roland, is once the vice president wins, not only do we have her agenda, but we also have another agenda to revigorate Black and brown men around the country.
Absolutely. And we also have to remind, if there's a brothers who talk about voting economically, it's also remind them what Donald Trump did not do. This whole notion that oh my God, things were great during his 4 years. No, he left the economy in tatters. Unemployment highs all get out. Of course, it had to be rebuilt by Biden Harris. So, and we can't. This man has made it clear he wants to bring back stop and frisk. He said if he will withhold federal funding to police departments unless the cities allow stop and frisk. He wants to give police 100% immunity in all cases. He's made that perfectly clear.
Yeah, I think one of the terms that we had talked about was, don't F around and find out. And, I say even more than that, we're better than that, right? I say that, brothers, we are better than that. Like you said, we are in the environment of disinformation, but we know we hold a lot of information. And we know, look, here's the thing. When folks say they don't know Vice President Kamala Harris, I like to counter with that and say, but you know him. There is nothing personal that he has done for the Black and brown community that has helped you. But that's what we do know. We do know him. We do know his track record when you talk about the Central Park Five. We do know when he did the Trump tax cuts, who benefited off of that. Nobody was talking about, there was no platform for Black and brown men when he was president. There was no talk, there was no real economic plan for us under President Trump. So when we talk about we don't know her, we know him, and there's no track record of support that he shows for Black and brown men. So I mean, this notion that I'm thinking about, to me, it's like, what do you mean I'm thinking about? I'm a father of daughters, and to me, what matters every day is who has their back. It is great it is great on the surface just to have to say, hey, we're electing somebody that looks like them. But even more than that, we need somebody who's going to give a shit about them, not only now, but in generations to come. Because this guy has shown us who he is. Project 2025 is real. And I'll say this, I know I'm talking a lot, but Roland, I like to remind people who even were devastated by the hurricanes. Remember, in Project 2025, he wants to gut FEMA. So what in the rising issue of climate change, just imagine what that looks like over the next decade, when we don't have somebody who supports that, and what that means for Black economic wealth, or what that means for the next great migration if we had somebody who didn't agree with him. So I mean, it's just, when folks say they don't know her, I try to remind them, but you know him.
All right, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Let's go to Kevin. He is the Georgia Democratic Party Executive Director. Kevin, you're on the Win with Black Men call. Massive voter turnout in Georgia for the first week of early voting. We got Kevin there?
There I am. Can you hear me?
There you go.
All right,
massive,
awesome.
Yeah, big numbers in Georgia this week.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, everybody. Look, we know that we had to have explosive turnout here in the state of Georgia. We were able to figure out how to get that done. I'm proud to say that, just under 5 days into early vote, and almost 1.3 million people across the state of Georgia have already voted. That's about 20% of the eligible electorate that has already cast their votes. But we also know this is going to be super tight and all the way down to the wire. President Biden won this race in 2020 by 11,779 votes, and we expect the margin of victory in this race is going to be in and around 20,000 votes, give or take. So super tight. We're excited about all the things that are happening here in Georgia and all the folks that are voting. But as I tell my team every day, we're not spiking any footballs. We still got a lot of work to do, 15 days and a wake up left until we get this thing done. I'll give you guys a sense of sort of what we're seeing on the ground. Obviously, explosive turnout. And folks are asking me all the time, what does that actually mean for us? Is that good for us? Is that bad for us? What I would say is there's no scenario where tons of people voting turns into a bad day at the office for us. But as Michael just said on the call, Republicans are showing up to vote too. They are not buying what Trump is selling on not early voting in Georgia like they did 4 years ago. And so we are seeing more turnout in Republican areas around the state. I think what we're kind of looking for to read the tea leaves, I think a lot of people are trying to figure out where are the new voters who are early voting come from. Because we know that there are about 150 or 200,000 new voters in Georgia that did not vote in the 2020 election. So we're watching that. We're also watching where early votes are coming in and how folks are voting. So, folks have been voting by absentee ballot for a little while. Folks have obviously been voting early and in person. But we expect very, very high turnout. And I'll give you guys a sense of what this looks like, right? We in 2020 had about 5 million people cast their ballots in Georgia in the presidential election. And that's the high water mark. We haven't had turnout like that in Georgia in 100 years. So we're looking both at the total amount of turnout, right? How many people actually show up to vote? And then we're looking at who are voting on our side. And that's why it's so incredibly important for the brothers that are on this call. You got to call every single person you know. You got to call the people you like, and yes, even the people you don't like, to make sure that they turn out to vote, because that's the margin that's going to decide this thing. Heard a speaker earlier talking about Wisconsin. I'll double down. There's no pathway to victory for Donald Trump if he loses the state of Georgia. I believe if we win here in Georgia, we're going to close off a significant pathway for him on the Electoral College, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that happens. Right now, we've got 250 people plus on the ground. We've got 130 plus organizers who are knocking every day, thousands and thousands and thousands of conversations. I expect by the time it's over, we've got 8 million doors that we have knocked on in Georgia. That's 8 million attempts to have conversations. But what I want to ask everybody on this call is to do the stuff that's never going to show up on somebody's minivan list, but is going to make the difference. It's the conversations that we're having, brothers, in our group chats. It's the conversations that we're having with our brothers at the barbershops. It's the conversations that Michael was talking about in the AAU groups and everywhere else. Those are the things that are going to make a difference 100% in this election. So Democrats are excited. They are fired up. Roland, I want to thank you personally for doing a lot of the work of pushing back on all this disinformation about Black men, specifically not supporting the vice president. I can tell you, because I see the data every single day, the only group of voters in Georgia that is more progressive than Black men is Black women. Black men are voting for this vice president in droves. Now, we've got more work to do to make sure our younger brothers are doing that. Absolutely. And that's what I think everybody on this call has got to be doing in their respective neighborhoods to get it done. But have no fear. The data is clear, and the data suggests that everybody is excited. Democrats are fired up. We had a rally here yesterday. The vice president was here. There were 12,000 people at that rally. In the last week, we've had President Clinton here. We've had the vice president here. We've had the second gentleman here. The first lady of Minnesota, Gwen Walls, has been here. Next week, we're expecting President Obama and Vice President Harris to come back again. We've still got another visit from our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama's coming through on the 29th. We're really appreciative of all the support, and if folks are looking to get involved, there's many, many opportunities for them to do that where they are. You can visit our website, www.georgiademocrat.org, to find all the information about how you can get plugged into this stuff that we're doing down in Georgia. But, look, I feel cautiously optimistic about where we are, but we still have a very long way to go and a lot of work to do to make sure that we can put this football in the end zone. So those are all the things that we're seeing here in Georgia. Really appreciate you and the team. And thank you, Roland, for giving me a little bit of time to talk tonight.
I certainly appreciate it, brother. Great work there in Georgia. It is a critical state. I know the folk, Meredith Lilly just joined the campaign, so she's been calling me, trying to get me to come to Georgia. And so we're trying to work that out. And so it's possible the last 3 days of this election, the second, third, and fourth, I might be coming to the Peach State. So
Come on down. We need you, brother. You might need to leave the Texans jersey behind now. That might not fly. You know, everybody is thinking the Falcons going to do something this year. So,
well, if they want to see a real team, then I will keep the Texas jersey.
Represent all day long.
I'm gonna represent all day long. All right, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. All right, folks. Again, lots of stuff happening. Rolling for president or press secretary, y'all. That ain't happening. I've never desired to work for any elected official, any campaign. God has me exactly where I am right now, owning my own media outlet because I can speak to millions every single day, and that's really what my goal is. So I love all these fools out there who say this stuff. Oh yeah, Roll trying to get a job. I already have one. And I employ people, and I plan on employing more. All right, Khalil Thompson, Executive Director of Win with Black Men. Let's bring Khalil up for some additional marching orders. And whoever this fool on here talking about who I work for, I love these people who say I work for. Well, I know who I work for, and I work for Black people doing our thing. So, Khalil, go right ahead.
I love it when you engage everybody in them chats, big brother.
Oh yeah, see these fools think I don't read the chat. Oh no. See, I know how to multitask. I got a phone here, two iPads, and so when they say stupid stuff, oh, I see it all.
Well, I'm happy to be here with you. Our sisters and Star Jones gives you your flowers, says thank you for leading the Win with Black Men call this evening. Truly appreciate it. Tonight was dynamic and phenomenal. I want to thank all of our panelists, from Jordan to Jaquan, to Anthony, to Trent, and to Trenton and to Michael for who hopped on. I believe it was Trenton's sister who saw us and said, my young brother, my young Black male brother wants to be involved in this work. What can you do? Texted us, put us together, and we got him in tonight. So happy to be here. Anthony, very proud of you, young man, for the amazing work that you're doing. And then want to give an amazing shout out to our Win with Black Men team, led by Michael McQuarrie, DeAndre Randall, Jaquan Powell, Robert Apong, Tony Lodge, and others who are doing an amazing job of getting this work up and going. So really appreciate any one of you. We have just a few days left. In this election cycle, we have only 3 more calls. This coming Wednesday, we are going to do a call, which we're trying to organize faith leaders to get on and hear from them. Sunday is hard for them to join. And then next Sunday, we're going to have our athletes and entertainers. And the following call is our final push call that we're going to hope to get as many Black men as we can on. So if you haven't voted, if you want to vote triple, here is your moment to come together and do your final push. If you need to get away and get involved, go to winwithblackmen.org. We are rolling out a new interface of the website coming tomorrow where you can sign up to volunteer to be one of our state captains. We are trying to galvanize 57 state captains in all 50 states, plus the district, plus the 6 territories in the United States. If you're a Black man leading, thank you. If you've been in touch with Breasia Johnson on our team, who's leading our weekend of engagement this coming weekend on the 26th and the 27th, really excited to have you a part of that. If you're ready for our day of action on the 29th, Tuesday, October 29th, that is the Women Black Men Day of Action, where we are going to try, and I know the anniversary was just a couple of days ago of the Million Man March in 1995. We are going to try to organize as close to 1 million Black men as we can in their state capitals where they're organizing and galvanizing on the 29th. Our work here is to move as many as we possibly can in our communities to be engaged and involved. And every weekend, we are getting people on buses on Saturdays to go up and knock on doors. Again, this weekend, we're going to be in D.C. to Pennsylvania, South Carolina to Georgia. We're going to go from Chicago to Milwaukee. And I believe we are going from Indiana we're going from Richmond to North Carolina. So we need you to lean in. Now is the time that if you haven't done that thing, whether it's knocking on a door, sending a text message, or make a call, sign up to be a state captain, be engaged, sign up to get on the bus, be a part of this movement, be a part of this program, and let's push as many Black brothers as we can to go out and vote. Roland, I thank you to you, Michael Blake, Quentin James, and Bakari Sellers for your amazing work. I know we're going to be on the road this week, but we're looking forward and excited to what this work can be. So thanks everybody for tuning in tonight.
Let me appreciate it, Khalil. Thank you so very much. Let me close it out with this. Folks, on Thursday, we'll be broadcasting from Edward Waters University in Jacksonville, Florida. So we look forward to being there. It's a great time there. It's going to be on Thursday. I'm going to be in Brooklyn speaking on Wednesday. But again, Jacksonville, Florida, Edward Waters University on Thursday. And let me say this here. There are individuals in our community, yes, who are agents of chaos. These individuals claim that they have the best interest of Black people at heart. Some of these individuals jump into this chat. Some of them jump on my YouTube channel, and their whole goal is to spread chaos. They have no interest in advancing the interest of Black people. That's the whole deal. That's what their goal is. And we know that. We know exactly who they are. We know exactly what they look like, what they have to say, because you don't see them actually affirming an agenda. Let me be perfectly clear. This ain't about who we love. This is about who is going to advance our interest, who actually has articulated an agenda that actually speaks to us, who actually takes the time to actually have the conversations with us. That's what we need to understand. And so I ignore these folk. I don't follow these folk, but I need us to understand. It was a lot of people telling Black folk not to vote in 2016. Trump wins and he appoints 3 Supreme Court justices. What have those Supreme Court justices done? They have actually invalidated affirmative action in colleges and universities. Those Supreme Court justices, they are the ones who blocked massive and complete student debt relief by Biden Harris. Let me also say with those Supreme Court justices allowed the execution of the brother in Missouri to go forward. Those same conservative Supreme Court justices allowed and gave Donald Trump a massive pass, allowing him to have immunity. That means that if Donald Trump wins, he can do whatever the hell he wants because this conservative Supreme Court has stated that as long as it was official acts, then he can actually do it. When you listen to these chaos agents talk about money that is being sent to Ukraine, let me say this, nearly 80% of the money being, quote, sent to Ukraine is actually going to United States military contractors in the United States. The money ain't even leaving the United States. Let me also say this. For all the folk out there who keep running their mouths talking about our support for Ukraine, let me remind you, Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, really the same person, has already said that if he gets Ukraine, he is going after Poland next because he wants to assemble the old Soviet Union. And according to our agreement with NATO, if a NATO member, Poland is a member, if a NATO member is attacked, then as a NATO member, we are to come to their defense. So guess what? That means American troops. That means American lives being put on the line. That means more money. These are facts that these people cannot dispute. Let me also say, again, when we're talking about issues, when we're talking about facts, when we're talking about facts here, The next president likely is going to appoint 2 Supreme Court justices. That means right now, conservatives have a 6-3 majority of the Supreme Court. If Vice President Kamala Harris becomes the 47th president, and if Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas, if those 2 individuals retire or resign, Clarence Thomas should resign, then she'll appoint those 2. If not, they will guarantee, if Donald Trump wins, he will be guaranteed to appoint young Supreme Court justices who will be there for the next 40 to 50 years. These are facts. I'm gonna read y'all for this, and I just want y'all to understand, because again, I'm giving you data, I'm giving you information that people don't want to accept. They don't want to accept. So when people say, well, nothing has been done under Biden Harris, okay? Really? The lowest black unemployment rate on record took place under Biden Harris. That is a fact. 400,000 black kids lifted out of poverty by increased SNAP benefits. Republicans want to cut SNAP benefits. Fact. Black business ownership has grown at the fastest rate under Biden Harris in more than 3 decades. Fact. Biden Harris tripled the number of SBA backed loans to black owned businesses. Fact. $10 billion in federal contracts have gone to black owned businesses. Fact. Biden Harris has invested more than $17 billion in HBCUs, the most in history. Fact. Biden Harris has appointed more than 200 federal judges. Of those federal judges, 58 are African American, 37 women, 21 men. Biden Harris has appointed more black women to the appeals court than all previous presidents in American history combined. Let me say it again. Combined. See, so when you sit here and listen to these folk, and when you sit here and listen to them jump in here and they got all this other stuff, folks, what they are doing is lying. I'm not done yet. Approved $170 billion in student loan debt relief for nearly 5 million people. Home appraisals, where black people are often ripped off. They are rooting out racial bias in home appraisals. They've closed the black-white home valuation disparity by 40%. The Department of Justice Civil Rights Division has achieved $150 million in racial discrimination settlements against mortgage folks, which actually equates to a $1.5 billion. Yes, it's actually happened. They've reduced the mortgage insurance premiums for FHA loans, saving some 76,000 black households $900 a year. Distributed $2.2 billion in financial assistance to more than 43,000 farmers who experienced discrimination. Who sued to stop the resources? Stephen Miller, who worked under Donald Trump. These are facts, y'all. These are facts. Let's talk about health care. Ensure more black Americans have health care than ever before by lowering premium costs by an average of $800 for millions of Americans. They increased the black enrollment in the Affordable Care Act coverage by 95%, or over 1.7 million people since 2020. Fact, lowered monthly premiums for health insurance, capping the cost of insulin at $35 and out-of-pocket drug costs at $2,000 for people on Medicare, and announced the first 10 prescription drugs for Medicare price negotiation, saving $1.5 billion. Fact made sickle cell disease the first focus of the new Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services models. Expanded Medicaid postpartum coverage from 60 days to 12 months. These are facts. See, again, what you have is you have people out here who don't want to own up to actually what has gone on. Secured an additional $1.5 billion for Head Start. That's a fact. The fact delivered $1 billion to more than 40 states to increase the number of school-based mental health professionals. Fact. Designated Springfield 1908 race riot and Emmett Till and Mabel Till Mobley national monuments. Fact. Signed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act to classify lynching for the first time as a federal hate crime. Last point here. And the reason I'm reading these to everyone, I'm giving all of you information that you can repeat to other folks. They created the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Signed the executive order on police reform when congressional Republicans would not pass the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act, which, by the way, was written by Vice President Kamala Harris when she was a United States Senator. Also, lastly, Biden-Harris pardoned thousands of Americans under federal and D.C. law for simple possession of marijuana. So, all those are facts. Those are all things that happened over the last 3.5, almost 4 years under Biden-Harris. All of you can take that information and share it with your folks. When they ask what has been done, this is what you can state to them. These are facts. All right, folks, that's it. Y'all be well. We will see y'all next week. Let's get to work and let's bring this thing home to make Vice President Kamala Harris the 47th President of the United States. Be well.